So in this episode we put in and torque down the crankshaft, and we start putting in we take off the old pistons, piston rings. We have to file down the new ones. We do that and we start putting it in, and then towards the end we run into a problem, and I have to work out how to fix that. So if anyone has any thoughts on the problem and how I can resolve it, I would be happy to know. In the meantime, welcome back to Henry's Garage. Hope you enjoyed the episode, and we'll see you shortly. Right, I've decided actually we are going to get them, take the head along and have them have a quick look at that and see if a quick skim can be done, and I might even ask them if these can be filled in a bit. I'll see how much it costs and go from there. So the first thing we're going to do is I want to take the valves back out. I'm not going to bother videoing it, you know what I do, and we can go from there. Okay, so the head is at a machine shop getting skimmed, getting cleaned and having a crack test. I'm taking the crankbat out so I can reinstall it, and so I've just installed the one bearing at the moment, but basically I've got some assembly lube on all of those, so we're going to get the assembly lube on. Okay, the bearings will get assembly lube as well on both sides. Right, so those are cleaned off, then assembly lube. Now there's a little catch here, so the bearings go in with the little slot. There's a little slot slotted in there. So we'll do that. We'll then lay the crank on top and bring the heads on top. Okay, so we're just going to work through and do all of those and then come back and have another look. Right, I don't know why I took it all apart if I wasn't going to film putting it back together, but these are all tightened down, just finger tight, except for number 3 here, and the reason for that is that this is where the thrust washers go. Okay, so in here, same. So all of the these sides have had the same treatment in terms of cleaned and then installed with assembly lube. Okay, and then that goes on there. Now, currently in there with my old thrust washers, I was getting a movement on the end of 0.34 mil, and it should be up to point. Well, I decided. I mean, different books are saying different things to me. So one is saying 0.07 to 0.28, and one is saying 0.15 to 0.33 mil. Okay, so these are my old ones, and we can see if it comes out. I don't know if it's coming out. That says 2.29 mil. So the old ones are 2.29 mil thick, which means I need, well, given that one goes on either side, and I need to get it down from 3.4 to 2.8, I need at least 0.3 more. So I've bought two sets. I've bought a standard and a +5. These are the standard. Okay, and the standard are measuring 2.34. Just check the other one as well. 2.34, 2.35. Okay. So if that's, call it 0.05 mil on either side, then that would take off 0.1 mil, so that would take it from 3.4 to 2.4, which would be well within tolerance. Now, if these are plus 0.05, which is 0.125 mil, then this will actually make it too small. So we're going to install the standard. Turn this off so I don't lose the battery. So we're going to install the standard thrust washers. New standard ones is what we're going to put in. Okay, so here they are. So I don't know if they come with stuff on them, but if they do, we're going to clean it off with a bit of brake cleaner. That should get that clean. Okay, and then we're going to add a bit of lube. Okay, and let's see if I make sure I do this the right way. So I'm installing that with the oil channels pointing towards the bearing. It's pointing towards the crankshaft. So that's one slid in. And it's very easy to slide them in, with that in place. You just put it in there and twist it around. It says it's very easy and then struggles. And then we can tighten this up. And again, I'm just going to do it finger tight for now. So that's just finger tight, and I just want to make sure it all turns very easily and smoothly. Very little pressure, so I can't feel anything there that's stopping it from turning, so that's good. So the next thing we're going to need to do is measure the end float, so I'm just going to get out the tools to do that. Okay, I've got this set up, and at the moment it's zeroed, but when I move, so if I've got on the other end I've got old chisel in, which is just pushing the crank this way, and that zeroes it. Okay, when I take it off it moves a bit. Then if I come in here and I move it that way, then we're going up to 0.28 mil, which is a bit more than I was expecting, given the sizes that I measured on those two thrust washers, but it is just at 0.28, just inside tolerance. Okay, and I'm wondering if I tighten this down, if it will be closer. And the other thing I'm wondering is if maybe I didn't have this exactly perpendicular last time, which would have meant it read slightly low. But because if it's not, exactly not perpendicular, straight on, then that might have made it read slightly low. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to torque this down, and then I'm going to measure it again. So the torque settings for this are 88 newtons. So what we're going to do is we're going to take it up to that slowly. I think we'll start on doing them all at 40, then go up to maybe 60 or 65, and then up to 88. So this is 40. Let's try to get a bit more in view here. So that's 40. These ones actually took quite a lot more turning than the others, so I suspect we were getting slightly more movement. Okay, so this is setting it to 60. Just want to check it turns nicely still. Yeah, it's still turning. Can't feel anything there. No resistance. So up to 88. Okay, there's 88. So we'll now check the end float again. So we'll start by zeroing it off. Okay, so I'm pushing it that way at the moment, and that's now zeroed. So if we now push it the other way, there we go, 2.35 or 0.235, maybe 237. So perfect. Yeah, that's nicely within the tolerance. Whether the max is 0.28 or 0.33, it works for both. So we've got that in place. The next thing would be to put in the pistons. Unfortunately, my rings haven't turned up yet, so we're going to go on hold a bit. Hopefully they'll come through tomorrow, but we'll see. So the good news is my rings have arrived. The bad news is I've been looking for it, and I think I left my ring compressor at my dad's. So what we're going to do now is we're going to open these up. I should have 4 in here. Alright, so what we're going to do is we are going to lay these out and measure them against the rings. We're looking for a gap of between 0.4 and 0.65 mil for the first and second rings. So if we lay those out, if we see what we got, we can then see if we need to adjust any. Okay, so we will. So how are we going to do that? We're going to take one of our pistons, we'll lay the ring in, we'll push it down to get it flat, take a measurement. All of these currently have their rings in still, so we're going to start by taking the rings out of this one. And we'll come back when I've got that done. Okay, so we've got the rings laid out over here. We need to turn this around. So we're just going to make sure that the ring is flat by pushing this in a little bit. There we go. So that will mean that the ring is now completely flat. Okay, so that's 0.2. Good. That's 0.35 and won't go in. Blimey. 0.28. Okay, so 0.28 is what I think that one is. So we'll take it out, we'll make a note of that. We'll see what the others are like. Okay, well this one's 0.25. So it's even more out. Nope. So this one's 0.33. I think I might do them all again because just to make sure I've got the got them flat. So that one looks better. So this is 0.35 I'm trying. Okay, well 0.35 is tight, so I wouldn't call it anything bigger than that, I don't think. So that's still 0.33. So we'll assume I've got them all right. So those all are going to need a tiny bit of a file on them to get those down to the right sizes. Since they're all too small, not enough gap, they're all going to need a bit of a file, so I'm not going to worry about trying to switch them from one to another. Okay, so if we look at ring number 2, right, so ring 2, and I can't see, but ring 2 has a top on it. Ring 1 doesn't. Right, same treatment with number 2. You'll see on here, as with number 1, they have a top. So we're going to lay those out. So we've got a tight 0.3. That's 0.25. That's 0.33. That one's good. So that one's 0.45. Okay, so here we have the rings. We've got ring 1 and ring 2. I'm going to go and check the tolerances. I'm going to check against Haynes, and I'm going to check my other manual and look online before I do anything further. But let's see. Yeah, no, even this one's given exactly the same readings. Just here. 0.4 to 0.65 mil. So these look like they're all too small, so I'm going to have to take them down a bit. I'm thinking the only way to do that is with a file. Something like this. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take one of my old rings that I've just taken off. Here we go. I don't know if this was a first or second one, but I'm going to stick that in. I'm going to measure it, and I'm going to see how that comes out, and then we'll have another look. Interesting, this doesn't appear to say top on it anywhere. So this gap is currently too big, it's 0.7. Might even be a bit more than 0.7. So 0.75, it's really tight. You can see it's actually caused this to bend a little bit. So it's between 0.7 and 0.75 there, which is clearly too loose. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to okay, well I think that seems to work. So that's taking it out to 80. There we go. Right, so that one's at 0.4. Or 0.40. Good. So that one's at 0.4. There we go. Right, this is ring number 2 for this cylinder. I did a bit more filing this time. Okay, that'll do. That one's done. Yep, that one was there. There we go. That one's that as well. Okay, so these are all, let's see, where's the timing? Timing's this side. So we've got cylinders 1, 2, 3, 4. These are all set up. They're all at 0.4 now, except for the second ring on number 4, which is at 0.45. So they're all in tolerance. So what we need to do now is find our rings. So we've got number 4. And we need to start installing them. However, without the compressor, piston ring compressor, that's going to be tough. So we'll start by installing the rings on these, and then we'll go from there. So the oil ring has a red and a green, so we need to make sure we can see both of those. We don't want them overlapped. We have 4 tops and 4 bottoms. I can't see anything on them that distinguishes them. So I'm going to assume they're all the same. So this is number 4. So we'll start by putting this on a bit too far down. Okay, you can see the red and the green still, that's good. And then we can put the last one on. Okay, so let's just check we can see it all. Yeah, we can see the red and the green, so that one's on. On piston 4 here, so which bit says top. So this is ring number 2. And ring number 1. So, and we've got all of the kind of when the rings join, I want them all in different places. Just so that we don't have a stream running through. This one is number 2. So we'll start by taking the old rings off. We'll come back to this one. This is number 1. So we've got the red and the green showing there, so that's all together. And then okay, so that's this in one put together ready. Right, I'm going to have to get a couple of these loosened up before I can do pistons 2 and 3. Right, we have number 2 here, so we're going to start with the oil. There it is. Right, okay, what are we doing? Piston number 2. Okay, so that's number 2 ready to go in. Okay, so these are ready to go in. I just need my piston ring compressor. So I might be going out to buy one. Right, the job for today is to install the piston rings. So I've gone out and bought myself a new piston ring compressor. And in terms of how they go in, well, in terms of how they go in, it doesn't really, the conrod is symmetrical, so it's not, the conrod isn't handed. Okay, so that's all symmetrical, we don't have to worry about that. You do need to make sure that you've got your numbers together, because the head goes with the base. Okay, but other than that, it's not handed in any way. So this is number 4. Timing is here, so number 4 would be here. Okay, so this is going to drop in there. What we do need to make sure is these little creases or divots or whatever for the piston, for the valves, needs to be on this side. Okay, they're on the water pump side. So it's going in like that. Okay. So with that in mind, we've also got, where have I put them? We've also got the new bearings for it. So what we're going to do is, we'll start with 4 since I've got it out. We'll clean out the cylinder. We will put in some assembly lube. We will put in the bearings, and we'll go from there. These have a notch in them, so we just need to make sure we put that in. Let's get that size. You need to make sure we've put that in the right way round. Right, so I haven't torqued this yet, but what I've read is that you want to make sure it turns easily after installing each one. So that's what we're going to try to do. Okay, well, I'm not sure if that's easily or not, but it seems okay. So we will go on to the next one. Okay, so number 3 went particularly badly. So we're going to skip over it and come back to it. We're going to see if we have the same problems with number 2. Right, let's hope that I was struggling because of that screw being loose and falling out. And hopefully that was the reason it wasn't coming in fully tight. So, where have I put the Allen key? Okay, you can't see, but I've just realised I caused myself a bit of a problem here. In that this head is the wrong one. It's the wrong way round. Oh. Okay, I'm not torqued, just enough to turn. I think I might need to put a bolt on the end to be able to turn this. Right, so just fitted the flywheel on just so that I can turn it easily. And I guess that sounds like it's turning. It feels relatively easy to me, so I'm going to take that as okay. And it's... yeah, the bolt is still loose, so that's just loosened up the bolt, so I know I haven't got much tension on here to get that turning. So I'm okay with that. So, based on those lessons, we want this down at the bottom. There we go. So now we're going to have a go at piston number 1. Right, so I got something wrong here. We've got piston 1 in, as you can see. Can you there? Okay. But I can't turn it. It's not even quite tight at the bottom. So that just loosens it off. And can't turn the crank now. So there's something wrong there. So we're gonna stop for today. We're gonna come back to this at the weekend, because this is not going to plan. And so at the weekend we'll come back and have another go at it. Oh, I decided to have another look. I discovered the problem. I took the cap off here, and the bearing had come off, and so that was the issue, I think. So we're going to see if we can get that back on without taking the piston out. Right, number 1 is back in and it turns. Ooh, can't do it by hand at the moment, but it does. It's quite it's progressively more difficult, but it's not like last time. There we go. See, so that's fine. I put in the old bearings though because I damaged, you see this mark here? Damaged it there. The other one you can see it on the outside. And I more or less flattened out the little groove as well, so I put the old bearings back in rather than trying to use those. So what I'm trying to decide now is whether or not to have another go at piston 3. whether to take out rings 1 and 2 and just try to thin them off a bit, or just go for it. Okay, I have all 4 in. I haven't torqued them at the bottom yet, but they're all turning, so we'll call that good. So we didn't quite finish when we said we would, but we'll finish there. They need torquing. I filed down the rings further on piston 3, so I think part of that might have been the problem, I don't know. I also was getting a bit slower, but a bit better about getting them on. Anyway, piston rings installed, pistons installed, crankshaft installed. Right, before I stop today, I thought I'd show you the head, which I got picked up again today. So this has been crack tested, cleaned and skimmed. So that does look a lot better. We still, obviously these aren't brilliant, but that's a lot better than it was. So I'm a little bit worried about it. I mean, just here, just a bit worried it's too close to on these exhaust. It's got a bit too close now, but it is what it is. This is what we've got. So there's that. Now, why aren't those pistons going in? I'm wondering, because the rings that I took out, they all had gaps of about 65 was the smallest, 70, 80, 80, 85. So they had much bigger gaps when put in there. So I don't know if that's the problem, and you know they can't compress quite around the pistons, which I suppose is a possibility. And so putting them in at 0.4, which is the minimum, you know, maybe I need to take it out a bit. That does not explain why piston 1 has now jammed. So I'm going to have a look at that, but we'll see when we get there. So that's this for this episode, and come back to the next one and we'll do some more work on the head, on the block.